Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Aurora City Council's Committee of the Whole meeting. It is Monday, March 14th, 2016. Ms. Martin, please call the roll.
Ms. Varner? Ms. Grandillo?
Here.
Mr. Hatridge?
Here.
Mr. Horvat? Mr. Kovac?
Present.
Mr. Cudley?
Here.
Ms. McDougall? Mr. Vaca? Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Okay, thank you. First item on our agenda is the approval of the February 22nd, 2016 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, comments, corrections?
Have to
Mr. Kovac?
abstain.
Okay. All in favor of those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then we have one abstention from Mr. Horvat, or Mr. Kovac. Under new business, we have several items. The first is item A, the reappointment of Mr. Ken Wolf. Mayor, if you want to speak to that.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of council. This is a reappointment of Ken Wolf to this Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority, or PARTA Board of Trustees. And he was very interested in continuing his membership, and I would like his support to reappoint him. Thank you.
Okay. Now, the worksheet says that it's ending June 30th, 2016, but that's corrected to,
Correct, 2019. That's when the current term ends.
okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and pass this on to council's regular agenda.
Mr. President. Abstain.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Mr. Wolf abstains. Thank you. That motion passes. Item B is an amendment to the codified section 951.01. Mr. DePiero, are you going to address that?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, we've had the last few meetings, the next three ordinances are cleanup ordinances, if you will, resulting from council's change in the committee structure to reflect the committee of the whole. And this merely deletes references to the Finance Committee of Council.
Okay. So that applies to items B, C, and D.
Correct.
Okay. We have a motion for B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to forward this council's regular agenda, clarifying the changes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item C is the other amendment to codified section 161.10, as explained by Mr. DePiero. Do I have a motion?
Oops. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I will make a comment on this one. The intent is the same. We've rewritten the language to reflect just some administrative changes, but generally it's the same language. It just deletes the Finance Committee references.
It's been moved and seconded to forward this council's regular agenda. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. And the last of the changes is item D, amendment to codified section 155.04. Do I have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to forward this to council's regular agenda. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E is a request for an air sweeper purchase from the Service Department. Mr. True.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did provide you a new and updated quote also tonight to reflect the price purchase of $215,984.04. This does replace a 2002 sweeper. Our guys did a really good job, mechanics-wise, a superior job that has lasted for 15 years. And this new generative air sweeper Vector is it's a replacement. It'll even be better on the catch basins. This has a John Deere motor in the rear and a Cummins in the front, and it's a Freightliner cabin chassis that it sits on. It also has no middle broom. It's all regenerative air, and will actually suck bricks out of the bottom of the catch basin. So this really suits our purposes for cleaning the catch basins and sweeping the streets. The reason it's coming to you in April, I've been working on this since December, trying to get it. There are only 2 of these left right now, and they're all Tier 3 motors. If we go to the Tier 4, which is at the factory, that adds $15,000 to the price. And there's 2 or 3 other cities trying to get the same. It's a demo model that we're actually purchasing. I actually went as late as today, demoed another model, which is a little lower profile, a little smaller engine in the rear. They actually wanted $15,000 more for that, and that was a Tier 3. So this is a very competitive market with these sweepers. This one's built in Indiana. It's locally, and then a lot of the other parts are nozzles, fittings, and so forth, which can be sourced locally as we repair it through the years. And we expect this to last a good 10 years. It's a stainless steel bed. Our other one was only regular steel, and it lasted 15. So at least at a 10, we'd have a trade-in value. Our sweeper now has no trade-in value whatsoever. Maybe another municipality or something might pick it up if we're lucky for a couple thousand, if they need it for specific tasks of just maybe cleaning some wet beds or something like that for their sewer plants, but it will no longer work as a sweeper. The total bed is shot on it along with most of the motor in the rear.
Okay, thank you very much. So the purchase of 3 or 4 brooms won't do the job, right?
If this was 1970s, yes, but unfortunately, no, according to the EPA.
All right, thank you. Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were handed this tonight.
Yes.
Is there modifications on this as opposed to what's on the?
Yes,
Mr. True?
the additional on it, Mr. Chairman, is additional approximately $4,000. We beefed up the pump for the rear so we can clean out the basins, and they put a hand nozzle and 4 foot more of hose. So we have 8 foot of hose instead of 4 foot. That's the only addition to that
So the
first.
price went up.
Yes, it did, by $4,000.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Hattridge?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. True, it says you have a camera system, dual camera system. What purpose does that perform for a sweeper?
Mr. True?
Mr. Chairman, if you've seen this truck, it's not as small as our other one. It's a big truck. You cannot see the rear. It is a rear view camera for safety features. And also this, the model we purchased may come with a dual system on the side too. So that can be all reviewed and seen at a monitor right in the cab. So they don't have to look out the window and looking. So they tend to look out the window instead of looking forward. They can look forward, glance at that once in a while. But the rear cab really helps, especially when we're backing out catch basins and so forth. When you have a man behind the truck, they can actually see the camera, and especially in all the blind spots. So it's very advantageous, and it'll save us any workman's comp claims and things like that.
Okay. One other question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. True. On the construction sites of new construction, where the subdivisions and so forth are built in, and they get, dirt, mud all over the road, will we clean that up and charge the contractors?
Mr. Chairman, we'll continue to make them do it themselves, and they hire it out and make sure they have a broom on site, or actually contained sweeper on site, which most of them do have. But if they fail to do so, yes, we will get right out there and take care of it. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kovac?
That's Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wolf.
No, I meant to cancel, I apologize.
Okay.
Question.
Mr. Kovac? So I anticipated that, Mr. Kovac.
It's a good anticipation. Mr. Chairman to Mr. True, is there a big difference between Tier 4 and what you want?
Mr. Chairman, the only difference is the EPA and the more additives and $14,000. No, it's actually less. I don't want it to bog down the engine and everything else. Let's get this Tier 3 where we can and don't have more problems, because the only thing it doesn't add added value to the Vector. It actually diminishes the value of the engine.
Right, thank you. The administration is asking that we forward this to council this evening for action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item F under new business is the Ford F-350 truck and with a plow for the Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We went out looking to replace one of the Parks trucks this year, and with the trade-in, comparing the bid proposal that we received from Liberty Ford and Solon with the state bid price, we're recommending purchase from Liberty Ford and Solon for a total of $31,846.03 minus $3,000 or $6,000, I'm sorry, that we will get for the trade-in for a total of $25,846.03.
Any comments or questions from Mr. Kraus? Mr. Hattridge?
Thank you. So this is going to replace 2 trucks, Mr. Kraus?
No, it's just replacing one.
1 truck. And how many more trucks do you anticipate that we'll be replacing for the rest of the balance of this year?
This is the only truck that we're replacing this
This will
year.
be it. Thank you very much.
And administration's asking that this go on to our regular agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to forward to council's regular agenda. Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item G under new business is a Ford Transit 150 van for the Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the part of the new program that the mayor has started this year, or will be starting this year, the Aurora Transportation Program. This is the transportation van that will go with this program. I talked to Mobility Works, which is kind of the primary leader in Ohio that does these type of vehicles. We compared 5 or 6 different vehicles from 6 different vendors that they have, whether it was Toyota or Dodge or Ford or that. The Ford Transit was the recommended one for ceiling height, for ramp width, amenities, that kind of stuff, and also price. From that, we then went out and talked to Liberty Ford to see if they could, what their price would be. They were able to get a better discount on the vehicle itself. Mobility Works is still doing the upfitting, which is the modifications to the van to include the floor and the seats and everything with it. But Liberty Ford was able to get a better price on the actual base vehicle itself. So we're recommending the purchase of this vehicle from Liberty Ford for a total of $44,112.86. We did budget $50,000 in the budget, so this is below the anticipated budget for this vehicle. They did say that the build-out or lead-in time is approximately 8 weeks to get this vehicle.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kraus. The parliamentarian is lit up like a Christmas tree here, but I just want to remind everybody that we've already approved in the budget the concept of this, so all we're really is debating is the cost of the van, the purchase of the van, not the program itself. So with that in mind, Mr. Vaca.
Okay, so then when do we talk about the program? At the next meeting? I don't care. It doesn't
Okay.
matter to me.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Vaca.
Okay, first of all, this truck is made in Spain. I happened to go down to the car show down there, and I was looking at the Transits, Ford Transits, and they're nice vehicles. They're really nice. They're tall, big, roomy. And I'm talking to the guy down there, the salesman. He says these things have been made in Europe for years, so this is nothing new. So you're getting a foreign truck with Ford on it. But I would like to discuss the purpose, but we'll wait until it goes to council then if you're not going to talk about anything else. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mr. Kraus, we had some kind of transportation vehicle with the senior center before this? I mean, how did we
Mr.
go to
Kraus.
activities?
The mayor to councilwoman. Yeah, we have a 24-passenger van right now, which primarily takes seniors and other program participants to social activities. This van is intended more for medical appointments, errands, things like that. The problem we run into is that in the location of where we're at in our county and other services that are out there, such as PARTA, PARTA, for example, doesn't go to UH or the clinic over in Twinsburg because it's outside the county. So we run into those kind of problems of being able to get residents who have some of these other services to medical appointments primarily or other places. And so the option was to kind of start to provide that ourselves. There are many of other communities around us who have similar programs, who have similar services of that are through, like Solon, for example, in Twinsburg, or are through their recreation program. So
And-
this is could be an 8-passenger van. It's 8 seats. Obviously, if you take those seats out and put a handicap in, that number changes slightly, but it's a smaller vehicle, so tended to be little errands and medical appointments.
And are there any grants that we've pursued on this, given the nature of it?
the council, to chairman, to the council person. There are a few grants that I've heard of in the past, but some of those can be very restrictive, and some of the eligibility requirements or reporting restrictions on those can be extremely constraining to the options in the program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mayor, can you just enlighten one more time for council, who will be served by this and what qualifications there are?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. We have drafted initial criteria for this program, and it will serve residents, adult residents, with disabilities or in need of transportation to primarily medical and related appointments, although I think we are planning to accept some limited shopping appointments as well. This vehicle will travel, we've limited it to a 20-mile radius from City Hall, but we have also specified in our criteria that you could go to, what's the?
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest, thank you. Hillcrest, which I think is just outside the 20 miles.
22.
And University Suburban Health Center, also just outside the 20 miles. We initially are limiting it so that we can't go downtown to the clinic or university hospitals, because that frankly entails a lot of complexity that we're not ready to deal with right now. The scheduling will be handled primarily by this office and by Vicki Harris. And Parks and Rec will do backup. We're working out the financial management and do expect to be able to accept credit cards for payment, but it's, as you know, we're transitioning to a new credit card system, so that's one of the considerations we have in mind, although I think right now we will use what Parks and Rec has in place. But it is something, frankly, that we've been researching for over a year and have looked at other communities, and by no means is this the Cadillac program out there. We are starting small to see, frankly, what the usage will be. But I have had many requests over the last several years for something like this, and I think it can be of great benefit to our residents. We are charging for it. I think it's $5 for 10 miles or less each
Correct.
way, and $8 for more than 10 miles each way. Although we will not charge for trips inside Aurora. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hattridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kraus, on this final amount of money, $44,000, does that include the handicap capabilities, whatever you need to make this handicap
Kraus.
available?
The chairman and councilman, yes.
It does, okay.
The initial vehicle obviously is built, and then it gets modified by Mobility Works, and part of that modification is obviously the seats, the floor, the lift, and everything that would go with that.
Just as an aside, as far as the driver that would handle this situation, do they have to go to a certain school to be certified to drive a handicap?
Mr. Kraus.
The chairman to the councilman. At this point, we're verifying that, but from my understanding, no. It's just a standard driver's license. The vehicle is small enough that it does not need a commercial driver's license. As far as other training, medically and that kind of stuff, obviously our intent is not to have the driver be put in, exposed to too much risk. For example, they'll pick up door to door. They aren't going into houses. So if there are extreme situations or something, then typically the person would have to make arrangements or something to handle that part of it, and the driver won't be responsible for those kind of situations.
Thank you. Just a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
In the past couple of years, I have received about 5 or 6 I can recall, calls. I can't get my mother-in-law to the hospital or to the doctor. I said, call Porta. They don't go to the Portage County. And I mean, what can we do? I think I called the mayor once and said, do we have anything, or are you aware of anything other than what I'm aware of? And I just think this is one heck of a program to initiate and to start for our citizens. It's an old saying, you take care of your senior citizens, you're going to have a good town. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mr. Kraus, I'd just like to ask that we make sure that we have an AED placed inside the van and available to the driver. I know we're not obviously expecting them to be medically trained, but I think that would be nice. And then if I may, Mr. Chairman, I've ridden in these vans overseas. They're very, very nice. They are, some of the ones I've ridden in have actually been armored, but yeah.
You go to wrong places, Scott.
Well, no, the point being, they're built very well, and they're very sturdy vehicles, and they're very, very, I'm really glad that we're doing this. I think this will give some of our residents the opportunity, if they don't feel that they want to continue driving, this will give them the ability to get rid of their cars and save on insurance and save on those maintenance costs. And, I really want to thank the administration for going out and doing this, because I think it's imperative. There are people out there that don't want to drive anymore but feel that they have to. So this will give them an option. So thank you.
Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and seeing as how we got away from the price and into the meat and potatoes.
It was the chairman that opened the.
I'm back. First of all, we're having problems finding drivers. I see the sign down there at Station 2, drivers are needed.
That's different.
Number two, when the driver goes with the person wherever they're going, does the vehicle stay there? They could be there for an hour, especially when you're going to a doctor's appointment. Does that work that way, or does the driver come back and get the person? And number three, on Mr. Wolf's comments, yeah, I think the driver needs a little bit more than just as a regular driver, because you're taking us, old people, to doctor's appointments and so on and so forth, and if they're not in good shape and they're going to see their doctor and something happens to them while you're on your way there, I think the driver needs some kind of a touch base on some kind of a medical before they even go. But the AD, yeah, that's a great idea. So.
Yeah, I don't think the program's designed to be a replacement for the services of the
No.
fire and rescue squad, that
No.
if a person is in that kind of dire straits, they should be calling the fire department and not the city. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca, the driver that's being advertised is for the big truck, which does require a special license, among other things, so this is different. Second, the personnel director is developing a job description for the driver of this vehicle, and will take into account many issues, I'm sure. But having said that, this is not intended to be a medical vehicle of any sort, and we're not really looking for any kind of medically trained driver. Third, I forget what your third question was, actually. But I will point out, we're accepting out residents of the various senior residential facilities in town, because we're not planning to replace whatever transportation options they already have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McDougall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Kraus or the mayor. Is it possible that for the first time, whenever a resident uses this, they could sign some sort of release or waiver, so that if something was to happen to them, we wouldn't be held liable?
Mr. Chairman and Ms. McDougall, we actually are preparing an application that essentially spells out the terms, but also would protect the city as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we are looking to restrict the things that the driver can do. Oh, I know what you asked, Mr. Vaca, about staying with the vehicle and the patient. And that, frankly, is going to be part of scheduling. The plan is no, they don't stay there, depending though on what kind of appointment it is and how far away it is. But the scheduling is going to be something of a challenge, but frankly, I think between Vicki and Tracy working this out, I think they'll be able to manage it. But, you know, we do have to see how this kind of evolves. Thank you.
Ms. Brandil.
Mayor, I believe you answered my question already, but I was going to ask the various independent living places, the various nursing homes, those will not have this available to them.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? The administration is asking that this be forwarded to council for action this evening.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. That brings us to the end of our agenda, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.